Right. Hi, I'm Jessica with Braden Business Systems, and I have John Fichek here with me today. John is the director of Braden IT Services. So we want to take some time today to chat about remote IT security for employees. So many of you have been working remotely. You might be back at the office. You might be sort of doing a combination of both, or maybe just continuing to work remotely for the time being. Um, so I think this information is very helpful in all of those scenarios, and we're a little less panicked now. So I think we can really take some time to focus in on how to work remotely and be secure at the same time. Um, so we're going to jump right in. And John, why is security so important when working remotely?
Yeah, I think, security is all about risk mitigation and protecting our identity, our corporate identity and our corporate data, as well as our personal identity and data. And, for years, organizations have invested in tools to build walls around their data network, and that's been the main focus. So how am I protecting from outside threats coming in? As users and our employees move outside of the building, what tools are in place to secure them? And that's where we need to focus. And we're seeing a pivot to really more user and endpoint focused security. And that's been happening over the past few years. And COVID really, this crisis has brought that to the forefront. And what we're finding is that business owners and employees are really seeing the advantage of a mobile team and workforce that has the ability to do their jobs from anywhere, and being able to transition to that. Security is a driving factor for it. To move our files, our data, and applications to the cloud, which is what is necessary to enable all this. We have to really be cognizant of the security implications of doing so.
It is definitely crazy because I think we can all agree like flexibility was coming. It was coming down the pipeline, right? That was the future. But then it was like one day it was like, well, just kidding, you don't have time to adjust to this. Like you got to do it tomorrow.
Right.
Um, so I think going forward, if companies didn't have a plan in place before, they might now, but they also now have time to really sit down and kind of think about that plan.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, now's the time. Sorry, now's the time, and we're talking to our clients about it, and it's important to, what do we do so this never happens again? That we're all of a sudden on a Monday, you're in the office, and Tuesday, I hope you grabbed all your stuff and you're working from home. So, planning for that now, and security is a big piece. Your applications and how those function are a big piece, and even equipment-wise, do you have desktops or laptops and docks at home and monitors, and how does your phone system work? And we ran into a lot of things that folks thought they had a plan for, and then when it was time to really make that drastic transition, they weren't prepared. So,
right.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so what are the best security practices then? What can I implement at home?
Right. There's a lot we can do, to keep it simple. Just a couple of things. Keep all of your software up to date. Ideally, this is automated by your IT department or your IT services provider. But if it's not, you can make sure that your Windows and or your Mac operating systems are kept up to date, as well as the applications you use. Adobe browsers, Chrome, Firefox are all major attack vectors for bad actors. And by keeping them up to date, you can really help to protect yourself.
So am I okay to click yes if a software requests an update, or is that something that if it's not automatic? So most things I think through an employer are, but if I get, if my Adobe software needs updated, can I click yes, or should I go through IT before I update something?
Initially, I would recommend just checking with your IT to make sure that that's legitimate updates, and then you know what that looks like and you know what to expect in the future. And yeah, Windows updates are always going to be popped up through the operating system, and you should, again, ideally that should be automated and tracked and vetted by your IT team or your provider. But you should be able to click on that. I would check with them on some of the applications just to make sure that that's legitimate update and not some type of malware.
Okay.
Something else you can do from a working from home or anywhere, but secure your home network. I get we're not all networking experts, and it's unlikely your IT department or provider is going to go to everyone's home and make sure things are locked down and secure. However, we can take some simple steps to make it more difficult for an attacker to gain access to your network. Make sure your wireless network is encrypted, which requires a password, and make sure the devices you have on your network are kept up to date as well. I know at home I have light bulbs and light switches. Now they have refrigerators that connect to your, home network, your thermostat. Those should all have apps that control them and just make sure, firmware is kept up to date. The software is kept up to date on those. As Nest, I know my smart outlets release about an update every 2 months, and just to make sure that the bulk of those updates are all around security. And those are some big holes, and IoT has become kind of the wild west of entrance into your home network. So making sure that remember those things that to take care of.
So, and I know passwords are important. Should I be changing the password on my wireless network? Because I personally don't think I've ever done that.
And I don't either. So no, perfect world, yeah, you're changing that every day, and it's 100 characters long, and it's randomized. But the reality is that's not feasible. I know I have, I think, 82 devices connected to my home network, and if you're changing that password, I'm not going to go around and I'm not going to change all of those. I have my vacuum, my Roomba and my outlets. It's not feasible. What you can do is log into your firewall, your home router, and you can see what's been connecting. And if you see items or computers that you don't know or aren't yours, then maybe change the password then, because there may be some issues. But it's more of a risk versus reward. And by keeping an eye on that, you know what's coming into your network, you know what's connecting, you can see all of your devices. And if you're checking that on a regular basis, you have 82 devices on your network. And when you see 85, either your son had a friend over that connected to your guest network, or someone's maliciously connecting, or there's something to be concerned about that you just need to look into.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely good information.
Yeah. Another thing you can do from working from home is keep your work devices and personal devices separated. I know we're rapidly blurring the line and what is a personal device and a work device, and the model of, here's my company cell phone and my home cell phone, here's my work, hotspot and my home internet connection, laptops. Providing all of those devices from a corporate aspect to employees just doesn't make financial sense for the organization. So that line is being blurred. And your organization should have tools and measures in place to securely handle, bring your own device or BYOD policies. Let's assume for this that they do have those in place. Beyond the security that they've implemented to use your personal devices, it's a good practice to kind of keep your personal computing and family from using work devices. We've seen, especially, going through the pandemic, when everyone wasn't necessarily prepared to uproot their work life and move home, the remote workers just grabbed a device that was convenient, and maybe it's their personal Mac or their home PC, and they tried to VPN or connect into their corporate network. This can be really dangerous from a security perspective, as it's likely the measures put in place to secure corporate data will be rendered completely useless if you move to another device without registering it with your IT department or your provider. There's also kids, and letting your kids use a work computer to get a report done or play a game so they're quiet, and that poses risks as well. I know you've struggled with that in my house, with enough computers for everybody with e-learning and going through that, but just be conscious of what your devices are being used for, and try as best you can to keep them separated.
Oh yeah, I definitely always locked my laptop when I walked away at home. I have a preschooler and a 10-month-old. They both have sticky fingers.
Right. I think the last major thing that we can do is two-factor authentication. So what is two-factor authentication? I think we all do online banking, or the majority of us, where I go to log in and then I'm going to get a text message, or I have an app on my phone that gives me a code that I have to enter in. If you do not have this set up for your cloud services or your email or file access, first question would be, why not? I think this is the most important thing you can do to protect yourself and your organization. Beyond the organization, I'd recommend turning this on for your Gmail accounts, your Yahoo, your home banking, to make sure you're doing that. Two-factor authentication being enabled can reduce the risk of credential compromise by over 90%. So even if you did make a mistake and give your credentials to a bad actor via a phishing attack or any other method, they couldn't use them to breach your account immediately. They would need that second authentication method. So that makes a big difference to get that enabled.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I think these are really great tips. And sometimes I think we get sort of overwhelmed with the idea of IT security and keeping everything kind of safe. But But I think those are very easy to implement ideas and obviously can have a big effect. So are there specific security risks that we should be aware of working outside the office?
For sure. I think one of the biggest things we've seen over the past 3 or 4 months is a dramatic increase in email scams and phishing. And that's both whether you're working from home or the office, wherever you may be, something to be aware of anything asking for your credentials to, Office 365 or your Google Cloud or banking or any of those. The increase has been dramatic, and just pay attention to those. We would never ask for credentials over an email. I think most reliable organizations have the same policy just because of this. So be aware that that's out there. The other couple of things, private and public internet, to just know if you're connected to your corporate network or public and you're at Starbucks or you're at home sharing your network with the Xboxes, that there's different security risks at both, and just know where you are. And the reality is, know your physical environment as well. So if you're working at a Starbucks or a cafe of some type or laptop at a restaurant, who's standing behind you? Do you have, if you're in healthcare, do you have PHI or, personal data on your screen that someone just can see behind you? So knowing your environment as well, just from a physical standpoint, is important. And I think pay attention to.
Right. All right, so make sure we're watching our backs at Starbucks. I think this has been really great information. Is there any last tips for employees that are looking at flexibility in their work environment?
I think the biggest thing I could say is work with your IT department or IT provider. They likely have many tools available to help you work remote, and to, if this has been a challenging time, there's much easier ways to do this, and it should be almost a seamless work from home, work corporately, and they can really help you with this to make it happen. And it can be a win for both all of the end users and the employer to do so.
Yeah, I definitely, in-house IT probably is going to have a lot of great resources for employees. And if they don't, that's definitely a conversation that needs to be had to bring that security more up to date.
Yeah, I think with providers, we're on the edge, and it's our job to pay attention to what's coming and what's next, and that's our focus. In internal IT, we like to partner with them because we're not focused necessarily on their day-to-day. That's their job, is to keep the organization running. So we can work with them to just help provide guidance in making that journey to the cloud or to remote work be as seamless as possible for their team.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, John. And for those of you that are watching, please don't hesitate to reach out if you want more information. We would love to hear from you, and we'd love to answer any more questions. All right. Thanks. Bye, John.
Bye.